for I need to make a little clarification here. We are not going contemporary. Jeff's not holding a microphone because we're going contemporary. Okay? He did do a half sway, but I think he was tipping over. There's a difference. My microphone has died. My pulpit mic has died. It's the one that's been buzzing through the speakers. And so Alan and Justin, I think, and maybe Jordan have been doing a little testing this morning and come to the conclusion that my microphone has died. And so the fix for that was for Jeff to hold a handheld. And again, not going contemporary. Lord willing, we're going to get this replaced so that when he falls, you're not thinking that, I'd hate to have to fire Jeff on first day he gives me a order of service. And then he goes contemporary on me. By the way, if he goes contemporary on me, I kill him. I'm just saying. All right, you have never really been fired by me. All right, today is yes. It's their anniversary. I went over birthdays and anniversaries, didn't I? I just skipped over there. Today is Mother's Day. Okay. Whew, I didn't forget anything. But it is John and Tangie's anniversary today? Yes. On at least Mother's Day this year? Every once in a while, yeah. Stephanie? Are we going to make them come up? Stephanie? Yeah, Jeff too. Guys? It's an unbreakable rule. No, we don't do traditions here. It's an unbreakable rule. I preach against traditions. Come on, guys. Don't you? Come on up. How many years is it?
18.
Woo! 18. All right, we're going to sing happy anniversary to them. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, God bless you. Happy anniversary to you. Now, normally I'd make you speak, but you'd probably pass out, wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah. All right, we're going to pray that God gives them several more years together. All right, and here at the church. Thank you guys so much. Have a seat. Thank you. Give them a round of applause. All right. That wasn't on my order of service, Jeff. I'm going to have so much fun with this. I'm sorry I can't do that. It's not on my order of service. It's got to be like an act of Congress to change the order of service. Right? Business meeting to change the order of service. We probably have to have a business meeting to make the order of service before we even go to a business meeting to change it. I'm so going to be on the south side of heaven. I'm going to be in the bilingual section. For those of you that haven't been here on Wednesday night, the brother down in Chihuahua asked me to preach on Wednesday. So I'll be preaching in Spanish on Wednesday evening. And so be praying for me and also pray for them. Okay. Because since I've been speaking Spanish, I have learned Greek and I'm learning Hebrew right now. So there's no telling what's going to come out. Matter of fact, we were singing Holy, 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 and you guys remember, you heard me, I said Kadosh, that's the Hebrew word for holy. And then on Wednesday night a couple of weeks ago, didn't we look at the holiest of holies? Do you remember how that was translated? Holy, the holies, is that inner chamber in the temple and in the tabernacle. So in Hebrew literally translated holy, the holies. And so I love that word, kadosh, is the word holy in Hebrew. All right, today's Mother's Day, and so I'm going to preach to you moms out there, well, actually to you ladies. I'm going to take the word mother and use that as a acrostic, or is an acronym or something. It could be that too, but an acrostic. And it's for ladies. It's not just for mothers, even though I'm using mother as the acrostic. And so we'll look at that. I've preached this message before, but I think it was like 5, 6, 7 years ago that I preached it. But my wife forwarded me something from Facebook that Mrs. Kraft, our first pastor's wife, had posted. And my wife said this would be good for me to read on this Mother's Day. And I read it, and I'm going to read it this morning. It says this: on this Mother's Day, let us remember, to those who gave birth this year to their first child, we celebrate you. To those who lost a child, we mourn with you. To those who are in the trenches with little ones every day and wear the badge of food stains, we appreciate you. To those who experienced loss this year through miscarriage, failed adoptions, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes, prods, tears, and disappointment, we walk with you. To those who are foster moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. To those who have warm and close relationships with your children, we celebrate you. To those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your children, we sit with you. To those who lost their mothers this year, we grieve with you. To those who experienced abuse at the hands of your own mother, we acknowledge your experience. To those who live through driving tests, medical tests, and overall testing of motherhood, we are better for having you in our midst. For those who will have emptier nests in the upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. And those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. This Mother's Day, we walk with you. Mothering is not for the faint of heart, and we have real warriors in our midst. We remember you. Boy, there's some good truths there, isn't there? All right, mothers. The M in mother. If you'll turn with me to Proverbs chapter 31. Mothers have a ministry. So the M in mother will stand for ministry. Proverbs chapter 31. Verse number 10. Mothers chapter 31, verse number 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? Boy, aren't they rare. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. And by the way, one year we looked at how much a ruby was worth. And then we took the average. Now, I told Brother Jeff earlier, I'm dumb. We took the average weight of a mother. I'm dumb. I tried to be conservative. I tried to be, kind. Whatever weight I chose, I lost. But I think we chose 135 pounds. And we found that the price of rubies for whatever like I said, we chose 135 pounds. That may be heavy, that might be light. We chose that. We found out that women or a virtuous woman is worth well over several $billions. Taking the value of a ruby per carat, doing the math by taking it from a carat and going up to a pound and then going to 135 pounds, several $1 billion is your worth if you're a virtuous woman. Who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies? The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. That's not Southern for a fire. Okay, afar. She riseth also while is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth the field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hand to hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praiseth her. Who can find a virtuous woman? Ladies, there was a lot of ministry things that were there. She works. Her husband is known in the gates. She speaketh well. She's a servant. Boy, we need virtuous women in our society and in our church today. We don't need prima donnas. There's no place for a prima donna. Male or female. Okay, male or female. But we're talking about mothers today. We don't need prima donnas. What we need are virtuous women. We need some, and this is a perfect or a great outline for you to look at. She's a worker. She's not lazy. Used to tease my wife and some friends of ours, you know, in the day when the men are out at work, and by the way, that's kind of flipped, hasn't it? But that's a different lesson. When I was out working, my wife would be at home watching soap operas, eating bonbons. Is that a virtuous woman? She never did that. We just tease. Matter of fact, her philosophy now is if I'm working, she's working. If I'm working, she's working. So like when I was driving for O'Reilly or when I was at Lowe's, she wouldn't just be sitting at home sitting. She's working. That's a virtuous woman. That's what I see down through this passage, is she's a worker. She's a worker. She's a servant. She's intelligent. She considereth a field and buyeth it. You know, sometimes we say that women, you can't do anything with money. That's a man's work. No. You guys remember the old, I'm going to show my carnality now. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You guys remember that? The little cartoon there. What a sexist TV show that was. The Rudolph is off and he's lost, and Clarissa, his girlfriend, and his mom wanted to go out and find him, and the dad says, "No, this is man's work." Sometimes we get the idea that, you know, the woman can't do it because it's man's work. By the way, he dropped his voice too every time he said it. No, this is man's work. I see in this passage that she's buying and selling. My wife's favorite one is verse number 15. She riseth while it is yet night. Oh, wait. It's my wife's favorite. We tease her about that too. Has a good time. And then what is it that you always say? That's cultural. That's their culture. By the way, in our house, we enjoy our sleep. We don't get up while it's still yet night. You see who I'm looking at, right, Betty? Betty and I, especially in the early years, Betty and I would just go back and forth because she gets up early, but she goes to bed early. My wife and I have the Mexico culture still. We stay up late, so we get up late. We don't know about getting up while I don't like sunrises. I don't like sunrises. The sun hurts my eyes. When I had to get up to go to Lowe's and open the store, there was sandpaper in my eyeballs. I hated getting up that early. So we enjoy our sleep. We don't rise up while it's yet night. But we do stay up late. Her candle doesn't burn out. It's usually going pretty late. So a lot of good things here about a virtuous woman. So ministry, ladies. Again, we don't need just those that are sitting around. We need some workers. We need workers in the home. We need workers in the church. We need workers at work. How many of you have a job and then you've got that lazy coworker? You know who I'm talking about? You got that late, right? You got to do his job. By the way, I always walked by and accidentally kicked that guy in the shin. All right, so M is ministry. O, others. She thinks of others. She thinks of others. Philippians chapter 2 and verse number 4, the verse says, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. You want to have joy in your life? Joy also is an acrostic. Jesus, others, you. Did you catch that? You want to have joy in your life? Jesus, others, you. A lot of times we have yads, don't we? Ijo. We put the why first. A lot of times. And we need to. If we want joy, Jesus first, others second, you last. All right? Mothers, think not on your own things, but think on things of others. And don't, most ladies I know do that. They're thinking about others more than they're thinking about themselves. How can I help others? How can I think about others? How can I serve others? How can I do this for others? A lot of times they don't like standing up in front of the church and getting a little mini bundt cake because we're recognizing the ladies. They don't want to be recognized. They want it, but they don't want it. They would rather have others be recognized. All right, the T in mothers. T in mothers. You ought to be a teacher. You ought to be a teacher. Not just to children, but to the younger ladies. When I was passing out the cakes on my side, I got to Monica. Monica just looked at me. And I was going to make a height joke, but she made an age joke. How long has it been since you had children in your house? 40 years? 50 years? Children. Not your children. No, children. Yeah, so it'd be your children, but not if he's like 40 years old living in your basement. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, and he's how old? 40s, 50? All right, so take 18 from that. That's been a lot of years, isn't it? So we're not just talking about teaching children in the home. You know, how did you put it? You ladies that are well stricken in years. Titus chapter 2, verses 2 through 5. The aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, and patience. The aged women also. The aged women likewise. All right? That word likewise takes us back to the aged men. All right? How the aged men were sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. The aged women likewise. You have a ministry as well. You can teach others. That they be in behavior as becoming holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. Boy, there's a lot of words there that we don't hear today, aren't there? Let's talk about discreet for a second. Do you guys even know what discreet means? Do you know what discreet means? Privately would be a good word. But in today's culture, aren't we just letting everything out? Well, this is what I'm thinking, so I'm going to let you know what I think. Chaste. Do you know what chaste means? Self-control. Self-control, pure. We don't hear those words in this day and age, do we? Keepers at home. Good. Here's that word. This is my wife's favorite word. Obedient. I always tease when we go to weddings and we hear people say their vows. I always say, and usually I say it a little bit louder than I should, obey. Do you remember in the vows in the old days, the wife would say and obey? Boy. Obedient to their own husbands. By the way, that doesn't say obedient to your boss. Because if we're keepers at home, now I understand that some households have to have 2 incomes. I understand that. As best as you can, you ought to have it down to 1 income. As best as you can. That might mean that you don't have the biggest house in the neighborhood. You don't have all the toys, that somebody else might have. Keepers at home. We're talking about a teacher here. Who's supposed to teach the children? All right, I'm going to step back just a little bit. Not just the mom. Because don't we have a lot of moms teaching kids and our society is in the toilet because just moms are teaching kids? We need dads in the picture too. We need dads in the picture. We need parents teaching the children. That's not just mom's responsibility. In today's culture, and I'll teach and I'll give this counsel. If the woman is smarter than the man and the woman has the higher paying job, then the man stays home and takes care of the children. We've got a nanny society today, don't we? Government's raising our children. Government's indoctrinating our children, and we're wondering why our society is where it is now. It doesn't take a village. It takes a mom and a dad. I'm going to be in Facebook jail. Thank God we're not on Facebook anymore. My website is probably going to put me in jail. Mothers, we need you to be teachers. H in mother stands for honor. Moms would be honored. What a job. Boy, in that thing that we read, to those who are in the trenches with little ones every day, you've paid your dues. Moms, you deserve honor. Ladies, you deserve honor. Ephesians chapter 6, verse number 1. Children, wait, open those doors. Children, obey. There's that word again. By the way, men, who are you to obey? Two. There's two. No. There's two in the scriptures that a man is to obey. Don't obey your wife. Of course, it was a woman that said that. Obey them that have the rule over you. In context, speaking of who? You're looking at him. Me. Obey the pastor. Why? Because I have to give an account for you. The other one is, now you can say it, God. Men, you're going to give an account to God for that person that you married. And some of you are like going, oh God. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Children need to obey parents. I am so sick and tired of watching parents obeying their children. I am sick and tired of that. And I'm sick of seeing it from Hollywood on TV shows. Every time that I see a kid slam the door in his parents' face, let me tell you what's going to happen in my house. I'm going through the door, and I'm not going to replace the door. You don't slam the door in my house. I'm paying for the house. That's my door. That's my room. That's my bed in there. Those are my clothes in there. I'm letting you use them. That's my internet. That's my email address. That's my Facebook account. I'm letting you use it. I will have your passwords and I will check them. You don't tell me what you can and can't do in my house. Boy, can you tell that strikes a chord? It goes strictly against what the Bible says. Children, obey your parents. In today's society, it's parents, obey your children, or I'm going to call Child Protection Service on you. You know, my boys would tell me that. I'm going to call CPS on you. And please, call them. Matter of fact, here's the phone number. You call them. I'm going to show you what abuse is. Threaten me. Children, obey your parents. How old was Jeremy when he got his last spanking? What, 16? Isn't that unheard of, spanking a teenager? Yeah, well, no, we're not talking about you that are well stricken in years. You used to be able to get spankings in church and in school, right? That stopped. Now we drive around in Arizona and there's license plate, don't spank your children. You're an idiot. I read in the scriptures, the Bible says, wear them out early. And if you don't love them. You hate them. Boy, isn't that counter to what our culture is now? That's countercultural, isn't it? You want to talk about counterculture. Now, having said that, God created a place well padded for that. And parents, you don't lose control. There's a place and there's a tool. Doesn't the Bible say use the rod? Spare the rod, spoil the child? There's a tool. Don't use your hand. And you need to be in self-control. But there's a place. By the way, the place was Mom and Dad's room. Kids don't come into my room and jump in my bed and sleep with me. They never did. My room was known as the beating room. They didn't want to come into my room. And when I said, go to my room, they knew what was coming. And they would go up to my bed, and they would just lay their face down on the bed. And what does that make available to me? That well-padded place that God created. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. I haven't even got to the mothers and the honor part. Here's the next verse. Honor your mother and your father. How long does that honor go? It goes, it's a lifetime. Now, children, obey your parents. That stops when they move out of your house. Okay? If you're grown and you're living in your parents' house, you still obey them. Just going to throw that out. But you are to honor your father and your mother forever. By the way, if you're looking at it in parentheses, it says, which is the first commandment with promise. What's the promise? That you can have long life. Verse number 3, that it may be well with thee and thou mayest live long on the earth. You disrespect your mom and your dad, God doesn't take too kindly to that. You know, when I hear of a young person dying, my first thought is, I wonder how he dishonored his mother today. I wonder how he dishonored his father today. That's my first thought. Honor. Ladies, you're worthy of honor. The E in mother, excellence. Excellence. Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 29. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Excellence. Moms, ladies, I need to be careful here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one. Ladies, will you promise not to be mad at me for long? No, you're going to get mad at me. But just promise me that you won't be mad at me for long. Okay? How were you when you were dating your now spouse? How were you? Here comes date night, whatever that was going to be. We'll just go with the usual Friday night. Friday night's coming, date time. Right? It's date night. What are you doing Friday? You're picking out your dress. You're picking out your clothes. You're going to take a shower. You're going to fix your hair. You're going to fix your face. By the way, putting makeup's on but repainting the barn. Putting makeup on is fine, but repainting the barn. You did your hair, you put on makeup, you smelled nice. guys, when the guys saw you coming, there was an aura around you, and we were just like, oh. And there's something about the wedding cake that changes that. We moved from fixing our hair and smelling nice and getting ready to sweatpants and frumpy shirts and just, this is what you get. That's all the best. This is it. That's all you got. And it seems like it's the wedding cake that did it. Because everything was fine before the wedding cake, and then after the wedding cake, don't hate me for a long time. I know, guys, we do the same thing. I'm not preaching to men. We're in mother. Wait until I get to men. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. You know, when you get up, let's say you've got a job. Don't you get up, take a bath, fix your hair, put makeup on, to go be in front of other men at the job. But then when you get back to the house, sweatpants, frumpy shirts. To the one man that you chose to marry. To the one man that you chose and said that you're going to love forever, till death do you part. The husband ought to be able to look at you at all times and say, you excel them all. Don't hate me for a long time. You can be mad, that's fine. Just don't be mad at me for a long time. In my house, you know, we were just at this couples retreat, and the speaker was saying basically the same thing. In my house, that guys, do this. Give your wife the wave sometimes. I'm sitting in my recliner on the couch, and by the way, where my seat is on the couch, I look all the way down the hallway, all the bedrooms and everything. My wife will come down there, and I'm doing the wave. Woo! Right? Give your wife the wave. Wives, cause your husband to give you the wave. Excel. Thou excellest them all. All right, now, let's move on. R in mother, redeemed. Redeemed. Mom, you got to be saved. Mom, you got to act saved. Be redeemed. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse number 5, Paul is speaking to Timothy. Paul is saying, when I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, so Paul is saying to Timothy, when I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded that in thee also. Ladies, we ought to be redeemed and act redeemed. Then 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse number 15, that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures. Well, how did Timothy know the Holy Scriptures from a child? Who taught him? Well, we learned back up in chapter 1 and verse number 5, it was grandma and his mom. So grandmas, what should you be teaching your grandchildren when you get them? Notice I said when. When you get them. What should you be teaching them? You know, they're coming to grandma's house, so they're going to be spoiled rotten. Boy, that doesn't happen at Grammy's house. There's things that my grandchildren do in their house that they will not do in Grammy's house. You know why? Grammy's teaching the Scriptures. Now, they get the Scriptures in their house. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they need to be taught from grandma and from mom. We need to live redeemed and act redeemed, ladies. Old Spanish proverb, and I'm done. An ounce of mother. Did you hear that? An ounce of mother is worth a pound of clergy. Moms, we got a responsibility, don't we? Ladies, we have a responsibility, don't we? Usually they're the little ones. Normally that's the lady's job. Like I said, there are some cases when, like in John's case, Amanda's a nurse. John needs to stay home with the kids. We tell him that. Stay home with the kids. Let Amanda work. We prefer that Amanda stay home. But when Amanda stays home and John's working, then they don't eat. Amanda's got a way better job. But one of the two has to stay home. But normally that falls to the ladies. Stay home, teach the children. Stay home. Don't let the government raise them. Don't send them to a nanny. Don't send them to a daycare center. And hate your children when you have them on the weekend. Boy, these kids are spoiled rotten. I'm going to do anything that I can do. And by the way, that's where this wine stuff started coming. Have you noticed how prevalent wine is now in everything? It's because moms are trying to drown out their spoiled, rotten little brat kids that have been raised up in a daycare. And so they're trying to dull the pain. I'm sorry, if you'd have had them all week, you could do some teaching. I know I did a lot of meddling, didn't I? You say, yes, Pastor, you did. You meddled a lot. Sometimes we need to be meddled, don't we? Ladies, let's strive to be countercultural, but with the Scriptures. Let's be with every single one of these points that I gave you a verse, didn't I? Let's be with the Scriptures. Let's purpose in our heart that we're going to be the virtuous woman. Are you with me on that? All right, let's stand to our feet with our heads bowed and our eyes closed.